This is John Rice of ConcealFab, coming to you once again from our factory in Colorado Springs. You know, there are so many things that can affect the performance of a cell site. Noise in the uplink band, or in TDD systems, noise in band while the sector is listening can kill performance. But how can we easily determine if the noise is inside the system, you know, something between the antenna and the radio, or outside the system from the environment? The simplest thing is to encase the entire sector in a large anechoic chamber. Wait, that's impossible. But what if there was something that could come close to doing that? Something that would be easy to get up to the sector elevation and was able to be reconfigured for virtually any size antenna? Well, the patented ConcealFab RF absorber system is exactly that. You can think of it as a portable antenna isolator. There are three components: the front absorber kit, the side blanket, and the rear absorber kit. The front absorber is composed of three components. Inside of each pad is an RF absorbing foam that has been characterized to yield low PIM performance. To ensure that the RF foam does not cause reflection, an RF inert foam is what gets placed next to the antenna. And both pieces of foam are encased in marine vinyl to make them weather resistant. Finally, the foam pad is clipped into the specially configured PIM blanket. The front absorber kit is able to be configured for various antenna sizes. The absorber pads are clipped into the special RF reflector blanket to create a 2-foot, a 4-foot, a 6-foot, or an 8-foot absorber system. It is important that the pads are clipped in properly, as improper installation can yield unpredictable results. The side with the male clips goes next to the antenna. If they're connected properly, the front absorber has some structure to it. It should not be floppy, which happens if the clips are on the wrong side. There's a blue side and a gray side. The blue side should not be facing the antenna. The gray side also has a label on it to indicate that it should be facing the antenna. If everything is put together correctly, the assembled system looks like this. Another important step is to make sure that the pads do not separate when hanging on the antenna. That's what these side loops are for. You can simply stitch them together with zip ties, but be careful when removing them. You don't want to cut the side loops. Another method would be to use Velcro strips. This is recommended because, well, they're reusable and you don't have to worry about cutting the side loops. It is very important to not leave the absorber kit on a live antenna for an extended period of time. PIM is not something that gets worse over time. It becomes apparent almost immediately, so there is no need to leave the absorber pads in place. The front and rear absorber kits contain carbon-coated polyurethane foam which can ignite if exposed to high RF power for prolonged periods of time. So please do not exceed the safe thermal limits described in the user's guide. The side blanket is an 8-inch wide by 20-foot long skinny PIM blanket. It is draped around the antenna and is used to contain the side energy. If it is used on a shorter antenna, the extra material can just drape below it. It will not affect the outcome. Rear absorber pads are separate and are meant to be inserted behind the antenna to absorb backlobe energy. They come in 1-inch and 2-inch thicknesses to make it easy to slide into the space between the mounting pole and the back of the antenna. They both provide the same amount of isolation, and having both provides the most flexibility in dealing with various installations. Please do not use these in front of or the sides of the antenna, as this could yield false PIM positive results. The RF absorber system is secured using bungee cords. We like to use these that are supplied with the kit. You have to be careful not to have the ones that have a spring attached at the end, as that can introduce a PIM source near your antenna. Let's see how all of this works. We are starting with a known good antenna in an RF pure space. To prove that, here's the current PIM reading. Oh, if only all sites could be this pristine. Now I'm going to show you what you should not do. Some have suggested that by wrapping an antenna with a PIM blanket, you could determine if the noise source was internal or external. If internal, then likely the source is the antenna, the jumper, or the radio, and they'd have to be replaced. Remember, we just had a near perfect reading, but now let's see what the reading is on the PIM analyzer. Now, we know the antenna and jumper are fine, but the PIM blanket has created standing waves that the PIM analyzer is interpreting as PIM. It was because of this that we created the RF absorber system. Now let's see how to correctly install the RF absorber and see what the results are. Before we do that, I've placed a PIM source in front of the antenna. Now let's see how much PIM is being seen by our perfectly installed antenna. Wow, now that's service affecting. In the real world, we would not have a PIM analyzer. We would be directed to this site by the operator who has run a report showing some sort of noise. If the RF absorber kit is installed and the noise goes away, then the source is obviously external. So let's get to installing the kit. The first thing I like to do is to drape the side blanket around the antenna. This ensures consistent coverage at the top and sides. Next, we'll install the front kit. I've already configured this for the 4-foot antenna we're working on. Notice that the top of the front kit has an adjustable strap for attaching to the mounting pole. This assists in proper positioning of the kit. Finally, we will insert the rear pad pieces. To finish it off, we will strap the bungee cords to secure the RF absorber kit. Note that there may be some gapping in the front kit, but once the bungees are on, you can simply close those gaps. Now let's see what the PIM analyzer is reading. Wow, that's definitive proof. But what if the antenna really is bad, or we have some sort of internal PIM? I've installed a PIM source on the antenna to simulate that situation. The RF absorber kit is correctly installed, so let's see what the PIM analyzer now is reading. So obviously we have something we need to fix. It could be the jumper, it could be the antenna, it could be the radio. Interestingly, you'll get a higher reading with the RF absorber kit installed than without it because the kit is actually focusing the internal noise. This can sometimes be confusing if an antenna is at the edge of passing and then by installing the kit, the antenna fails. Now let's see how to use the RF absorber kit to get us a better idea of where the PIM source is at our installation. I'm going to lift the side blanket, but the PIM source is still out front. Do we see any difference? No. But what if the PIM source was on the side? Well, now what is the reading on the PIM analyzer? That's pretty definitive. Just to make sure, let's put the side blanket back on. The same process can be used for the other side. Again, if there's no change in PIM, then the side blanket is put back into position and the rear pads are removed. If there's no PIM with that, then the PIM source is definitely in front of the antenna. So by using the 3 components of the patent-pending RF absorbing system, you can essentially isolate the antenna from the outside world and quickly determine if the source is internal or external. And if an external source is indicated, by methodically removing and replacing the various components, you can identify where the PIM source is. For more information, or to get your very own RF absorber system, please reach out to us.